Hello everyone and welcome back to Alex Elliott Golf. This week we're going to talk about irons and how we can hit these irons further with less effort. Now, a lot of people feel like they get that glancing hit with the iron and don't hit them as far as they should. So we're going to talk about how we get that penetrating flight and hit those balls further with less effort. So tip number one about how we're going to hit these irons further with less effort is all about posture and maintaining that posture through the golf shot. If I was to take a posture with a very much a C shape, as you can see my spine is making a C here, my backswing and my backswing rotation is very limited. So this is going to promote coming out of posture in order to get this golf club to where we think is correct, and then trying to maintain that posture, trying to get back into a good posture into the golf ball, and then coming out of that posture through the shot. Now, the reason why this is not very good and doesn't promote hitting the ball a long way for a golf shot is because from his position here, the golf swing becomes very armsy. We're not using our torso in order to turn through the golf ball as efficiently as we could. So let's now talk about why we need to get that posture and how we get into that really good kind of athletic posture. So if I was to stand with my arms out in front of me, just rest that club down until it runs parallel to the ground. So that's number 1 point. From there, I want a stance for my irons that's just in of shoulder width apart. I'll show you this from a different angle in a second, guys. And then from there, with your legs straight, I just want you to tip until the golf club touches the ground. Then from there, all we're going to do is slightly bend those legs. You can see the difference in my spine here. If I was to draw a line down the back of my spine, I would have a straight line. I wouldn't be hunched and the line coming off. I'd have a nice straight line. From this position here, I can now get a nice rotation with the upper half to allow this club to fall into a better position. And then from there, I'm easier to maintain that posture because I've not had to come out of my posture during the backswing. And I can maintain that through the golf shot. Because like I said, with a hunch posture, we're going to have to come out of posture, lift up, try and get back into some sort of posture, and then lift up again. So you can see there's so many more variables coming into play. Whereas if we run through that posture again, let the club drop, the arms inside the body, take that shoulder width apart stance with the legs straight, just tip from the hips. And the key thing is just pivoting from the hips here. And then from there, all you're going to do is slightly bend those legs. And now I'm going to demonstrate the differences between coming out of posture with a C shape or staying in posture now with that straight line. As you see, you can turn, stay in posture, and stay in posture through the shot. There's not that variable of me lifting up and then lifting up through the shot. From here, it allows me to turn with my chest and get my legs moving as efficiently as they can do in order to promote that ball that goes longer and easier. Tip number one leads me on to tip number two, and having that correct posture is going to be key in order to make sure we have this tip number two done correctly. So we help that posture with that straight line down our back, not that C shape that's going to limit our rotation. So how we're going to do tip number two is that a lot of people see on TV that Thomas Pieters and Tiger Woods in his heyday have a really wide backswing. And a lot of people, a lot of amateurs think this is, oh great, I've got a good posture here, all I do is make it as wide as I can. But you can see here the limited amount of wrist hinge. Now, this is going to limit the amount of club head speed we can create, and also it's going to not ensure as good contact through the golf ball. So, all I want you to do is here, we're going to talk about wrist hinge. So, imagine my hands are in a box here. So there's a box around my hands. If I was to hinge my hands stay in the box longer. If I am not hinging my hands, this box that was around my hands here, my hands have left a lot quicker. So all I want you to feel is here. Now this is a drill that's going to be done 2 times to every 3 normal shots you hit. So out on the driving range, I want you to do the drill twice and 3 normal shots. I don't want you to become too reliable on this drill. So all you're going to do is you're going to hinge the hands up so the club is running parallel to the ground. Then from there you're going to turn to the top. Now as you can see, I've got a great body turn here. My chest has turned back and my back of my chest is to the target. So let me show you that from a different angle. So my hands are in this box, hinging it so the club is running parallel to the ground. Then from there, we're turning up to the top. Now, as you can see, my feeling for this is that if I create a triangle between my left hand, my shoulder, across to my other shoulder, and down to my right hand, that is hinged, all these stay constant. All I've got to do is turn to the top. It's almost like, not a wooden, I don't like using that term, but it's almost like everything is all now connected. The arms aren't moving independently from the chest and independently from the body. So let's run through that again. All we're going to do is feel like we hinge, turn to the top, down. So I'm going to run through this and what the differences are between not hinging and hinging now. So if I was to create my nice drill and turn to this position here, you can see I've created a nice L shape and a longer lever than if there was no wrist hinge here. That is an extreme opposite. The wrist hinge is allowing me to turn to the top now. I can maintain that into the golf ball. I'm going to have a better chance of creating more club head speed. So let's summarise about how we're going to hit these irons further with less effort. So it's all about having that correct posture, maintaining that posture through the golf shot. Like I said, a lot of amateurs come out of posture in the backswing, trying to find a good posture and then out of posture through the through swing, and they do this with not a lot of wrist hinge. Now all the feeling is here, so we want nice posture and a little bit of wrist hinge. Now this is something that I don't want you to get on the golf course and think, right, my hands have got to be hinged at a certain point. I want you to do this drill and naturally this wrist hinge will occur, because a common question is, where do I start my wrist hinging? Now for me and a lot of good players, they find themselves that the wrist hinge just happens naturally through the backswing. It's not at a certain point where they go, right, I've got a hinge here. So how I'm going to put this across to you, that if we do this 2 times to every good 3 normal shots, the drill, our wrist hinge will start gradually happening in our swing naturally. And now that's the best move and the best change in the swing I think we can make, because this is just sort of kind of fine tuning our swing. We're not talking about large swing changes here. All we're talking about is a little bit of more wrist hinge is going to give us a little bit more distance, a little bit more leverage, and allow us to hit that ball further with less effort. So before we finish here, I just want to run through that drill, and I'm going to hit this shot and you're going to see what that shot looks like running in a drill. So that nice posture, I'm going to run through it from the start. So hands out in front of us, resting the arms and the body, lower the club until it runs parallel to the ground, feet shoulder width apart, and then from here all I've got to do with straight legs is tip to the club hits the ground, and then slight bend in the legs, feeling like I'm perching on that kitchen stool. I've now got a nice straight back in that athletic posture like Rory McIlroy to allow me to turn and use my body as efficiently as possible. So I've got a hinge, turn, hit. And my feeling was there, I had sufficient amount of wrist hinge and greater body turn to allow me to stay in posture and hit that ball as far as I could with the least amount of effort. Thank you for watching this week's tip on Alex Elliott Golf. Remember those 2 key areas, staying in posture, but before we stay in posture we've got to have a good posture to start with, and trying to get that natural wrist hinge happening during the backswing. Let's not get too into it where it happens exactly in the backswing. This is going to be a gradual move that happens as a flowing movement in the swing. Thank you for watching. If you've not already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. There's so much more content coming. We've got Tuesday's tips, Thursday's tips and Saturday's tips. That's 3 amount of tips a week to help you improve your game over this winter period. As always, thank you for watching.